Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the live stream here. Hope everybody can hear me okay and see what's going on here. And if there is any issues, just write in the comment field, and Georgie at Savage is keeping an eye on that, and I have her on the other line here, so you'll be able to hear me but not her. But she's gonna help me out with reading questions and stuff like that. So very nice. So today, just doodling a little here now, but my plan is to draw something, an environment. Go for something that I'm pretty much into these days, in case of worn down, hidden places where nature can sort of grow back a bit. So I'm gonna just show you some of my inspiration lately, and also some of just my photos that I'm taking, and put them into this gather. And it might look pretty boring to most people, but but I just love the way how you sort of see typically this fade from tarmac to gravel to some grass popping up, and then you have bigger plants growing out, and then eventually trees. You have this natural fade from the man-made tarmac to nature, and sometimes I think that transition part is really interesting. And I love the potting on the overgrown stuff. Like, I think that's much more interesting than just slick, clean new buildings, right? So here's some of my. I found an alley the other day in my hometown, Moss, and I snuck in there and took some pictures. And it's yeah, I love this sort of stuff. Also, just how the wall is broken up into. You kind of see how the concrete is working underneath, and some places the topping has sort of fallen off, and you get this nice, yeah, nature growing back. And also stuff like this, just crap laying around. I don't enjoy people putting crap out in the in nature like this, but I love how it's just like it naturally spread out like this. So that's also going to be part of my painting and or drawing today. We're going to see how far we can get within about an hour's time. So yeah, that's my nerdy stuff. Walking around taking weird photos, but it's beautiful. Look at this. Also, it's spring. Like in Norway, it's spring now. It's the green is at its most green, so it's almost, it looks fake almost because it's so green. This was in Germany. I was in Germany a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, beautiful. Look at this. Summer, spring. Yeah, just love it. Just a random stuff laying about on this table here. Yeah, that's like poetry and art to me, that stuff. And how the grass is just growing back here. Yeah. Yes, I'm weird. I'm aware. That's how it is. Okay, let's jump back into Procreate. Yeah. Or I can continue showing this stuff for hours. But I have some of that stuff just on my Mac beside me, just for inspiration. And most often I won't sort of just paint exactly what I see, but it's more inspiration to how light works or how the plants are. So I'm more inspired by when I use reference, not really just copying. So let's get rid of this guy. and I want to set up my perspective. So that's when I do environments. That's my go-to startup. That's deciding for the point of view. Where are you putting the camera in the scene? And so for me, I feel more like a cameraman than just a human or watching it through the camera, because your canvas is a square. You decide how that square is shaped, but it's still more a camera than how your eyes are working. You're deciding where the limitations are to your canvas. So, and also because I work in film a lot. Yeah, right now my screen, yeah, I had a little issues lately with the screen not being responsive from the fingers, but I hope that we won't have too much problem with that during this live stream. Just a few seconds of apathy from the iPad sometimes. This poor overworked iPad. So I'm setting up the 3-point perspective here, and so it's a low angle. The camera is looking up, so the horizon line comes down in the image, and it's a 2-point perspective, or it's a 3-point perspective, and since you're looking up, which means the horizon line gets low, that means the third point is always high. So and it's all, the third point is also always in the center here, and exactly where it is in height here is a bit of something you have to just get used to. Look at references for that. If you have trouble with setting up your perspective, I recommend just taking a photo with your iPad, for example, or your phone at the angle you want your painting to be in, and just import that, and then you match the perspective lines to that photo, and then you just delete the photo. Then you have sort of stolen the perspective from that photo, and then you have the same sort of camera point of view and setting from that photo you took. So that's a good way of getting used to seeing perspective, and also to get to know how these lines and vanishing points are behaving. Alrighty. And I always make my lines black. I don't like colors on them. I just want them to be, I fade them out a bit like this, and then done. And I hope you can see them. I'm gonna put my background color to neutral gray. This is a typical startup for me. Most of my images I start like this. I may not go like 50% gray, maybe a little brighter. Doesn't really matter, but I want to go away from white. I don't like starting on the white canvas. So here we have one layer, and I'm starting to paint with a darker color. Doesn't need to be black, but just darker. Here is my quick menu setup. So erase straight up, paint straight down, drawing assist here, flip horizontal. 2 of my favorite brushes right here. So the round brush looks like this. So the harder I press, the more opacity it comes in, and also the bigger it gets. So both it's glazed, and both size and opacity is hooked to pressure. And then it's the rull, which looks like this. So it has some texture to it, but it becomes massive if I press hard. And it's also glazed, so I can paint over my own lines without going darker if I don't want to. So, but it doesn't change size the harder I press. So these 2 does a lot of the job, almost all the job. But I still gonna jump around here through some of my favorite brushes here, and You can go into my Gumroad if you want, and I have plenty of tutorials there, and all my brushes that I use in each tutorial follow the tutorial. So most of these are definitely there. Alrighty, so starting up is I'm gonna make some building. So it's gonna be like a derelict shed, or some sort of forgotten place here. So I'm just starting off with a simple cube shape, right? Want to keep it simple in the beginning. So this could be maybe just like an old building, not a gas station necessarily, but maybe something, maybe they sold like an old shop or something. So putting in like a doorway immediately shows a certain scale, right? Some stuff is just usually about the same size, regardless what kind of building it is. Or so putting in that doorway, immediately you know approximately how big that building is, because unless it's like a castle and the doorway is like 15 meters high, then it's usually a bit more than a couple of meters. I'm also going to put in a window here. So Georgie just asked me if I used a screen protector, and no, I don't. I really like the less friction, the better, like the less strain on when I'm painting. So it's just a pure iPad screen. But I do use a protective on the iPad when I'm not using it. Like I have the Apple keyboard that folds over the screen because I'm scared of messing up the screen. But when I'm using the iPad, just the screen on. So no protection there. But I understand, like, some people really like the papery feel. I know there's a good sort of foil or so you can have on your iPad that's called Paperlike. So that's the only one I know about, but I've heard good things about it. So yeah, so I'm basically here drawing some lines. I'm not really thinking about all the lines that I'm doing. I'm just niddling in some lines here and there just to get a feel for it, and also to put just some because nature is random, and just by putting some random lines here and there, you will strike some luck here and there. I have a word for this in Norwegian called just rar, just crap. Basically, I'm painting crap. And to get good at crap, you need to watch how nature is doing it, or like this forgotten places where there's a tire lying there, or an old doll, or just part of some camping wagon that somebody parked there a long time ago, and some animals just tore out the inside of it, so it's spread out. So that sort of randomness is just, it has its own beauty. And I'm also playing a bit with the size of the brush here, but I'm gonna close this shape at a certain point so I can get like a solid silhouette for it, because that helps me a lot. I'm gonna explain that better in a few seconds or minutes. And I also turn on and off the drawing assist, because I love having it on, but if I have it on all the time, you're gonna lose some of that organic feel. And especially for a place like this where you want those organic lines here and there, you know, even though it's meant to be straight stuff, it's not always the case. And I also keep like the inside, the interior, I keep clean for now, because I want that on maybe just some stuff just standing in the doorway. But I'm gonna actually save that for maybe just something hanging here, because I want to have, I'm gonna do a selection of this as well, so that's on a separate layer. Just gonna look at the time, 1/4 past, because suddenly swoosh, that was an hour, and I'm like, well, no, I wanted to paint all that stuff because it's fun. I also want to put in some text here and there. And Georgie, you really helped me out on that Asian harbor walk the dog image with all the Chinese text. That was really cool. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it really works. And it's I've gotten several questions like, you know Chinese? Like, no, sorry, I got help. But yeah, but it was really, yeah, I think it, with the text tool, it makes really the difference, from makes it look more natural and real when you put it in, instead of just faking it like I've done. That looks okay as well, but it looks more real when it's actual stuff, actual text. Gonna have some sort of chunk of something here, maybe like a concrete thing standing there, maybe with a pole in it. Maybe there used to be a sign or something. And I keep flipping it, and that is one of the most important things to do, to flip your image so that you actually get fresh eyes seeing the composition. I also want some sort of yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, Georgie told me, somebody pointed out that I didn't have any prints available, but they would like to buy my prints. I'm gonna do that, because I am on ArtStation. ArtStation fairly newly started to have prints available in their thing. So that's part of my plan. I actually do have prints available, but they only deliver to certain parts of Europe, so it doesn't. And I haven't updated it in a very long time. It's called Poster Lounge. Poster Lounge. So that's. But yeah, I'm gonna actually. That's been my plan for a while, to get some posters. All right, so this is as far as I'm gonna get on the building for now, and I'm gonna close some. Well, first I'm gonna do automatic selection, and I'm gonna see how that's gonna work. So automatic selection, and I select the outside. And that actually looks okay. I'm gonna select some of that ground, and then I invert the selection. And now I'm gonna feather it about 3%, because that's gonna take that hard edge from your automatic selection. The alternative to that is to not do the feathering, but then to blur it with Gaussian blur about 3% later on. It does basically the same thing. So I made a new layer now, put it underneath the sketch there, and I'm gonna fill it with a slightly brighter value. So I'm gonna brighten that up a bit. But as soon as I do that, at least I feel that, there is the building. It's much more solid and yeah, I can much easier see that chunk of that silhouette. It works better for me this way. And I'm gonna select also the doorway and the window here, like this. Doesn't really matter that there's a stripe going through, that's just fine. And I'm gonna do the same feathering. And I'm gonna delete that clear. So now that's just a hole through the building. I'm gonna make a new layer underneath. And then I paint with a darker value. So now it just first like that. Then I can alpha lock that. I'll also alpha lock this layer here. And yep. So that's a startup. I'm also gonna clip mask this layer to that one. Just missed a little part here. Just so this sign looks solid. Okay. And I'm also gonna alpha lock the sketch, because alpha lock to me is also like a small security thing that I don't paint in that layer by accident. But now I can start putting in a bit more value in this silhouette layer. So just like the ceiling coming out here, and also deciding like how low is the light gonna be. And I thought I'm gonna have some sun in this image. I haven't totally decided on what's gonna be hit by the sun and not, because I thought there will be like the shadow might cover this part here, but I'm gonna paint some more of it first. And to do the ground, one really cool thing is you make a new layer, and one of my other favorite brushes here is like this Fury. I have the Fury bushes, or the Fury eggs. Eggs is just because it's made out of egg, this top shape there. And they're fairly similar, they're just fairly chaotic. And if I now paint in that new layer, just some random, it's also unglazed, so you see that I can really easily vary the pressure, both in opacity and size, and it's very random. I love this chaotic stuff here. If I turn off the other things, it's easier to see. And I also have like a bunch of other, like this is my egg brush set, and it's all made out of eggshells that I took a pictures of some time ago. So I'm just spreading out some. This is basically the ground seen from straight above, and I'm painting it like that, and then I'm gonna also erasing with some of these brushes are really effective. And then I'm gonna put it into perspective. So just also the negative stuff, like the white spots that are being erased now, they're really efficient as well, not just so I do sort of both. So I turn on everything else here now, and I can also put this at the bottom. And then I scale it down like this. And I put the magnetics on just to widen the bottom part first. Turn the magnetic off, grab the middle bottom line so I can move the whole thing like this. And I move it up. I touch hold so I can move the whole thing, and then I just grab and scale. Then you see it scaling out, and then I can lift it again if I want it to be even more sort of flat to the ground, you know. So that's a trick I use a lot. So here I can decide, you know, it's almost like the ground is like passing us like this. And then I can decide if I see more interesting. I like the darker part on the right side, so I'm going to keep it like this. So already it looks more like a detailed ground, even though it's just some random textures. But even though the ground doesn't have any like man-made lines, it's just chaos. Could be in the middle of the forest. It still has perspective, so that's important. Just gonna darken my sketch lines a bit. Alright, and I'm gonna have a ground plane that I put at the bottom. That I also have some chaos in. So I'm picking a slightly darker tone here. Maybe I'll go for the fury bushes. So always nice, like a vegetation brush. So that's like plants coming out here, and then also some chaos on this side. Maybe like a bigger tree on the right side, so we really see that it is plenty of vegetation here. Nice balance to the big building chunk. And also good to have like a brush that is like this, the ink one. It's exactly the same brush as a round brush, but this one is only, it's like it's just a round shape connected to size and not opacity. So just putting in some tree, like young tree trunks here. That also helps to show that where the third point goes to. So it's important to follow that, your vertical lines. And now I need to add some more. I'm gonna use this one to just tap around a bit to get some of that foliage on these trees as well. Okay, and then I'm gonna just cover the ground with it. So it covers everything. It leaves a sort of like a hole behind the where the trees are here. This is my grassy, one of my grassy brushes. But just so the ground is solid, I can then alpha lock or, you know, just brighten it up here. Not always, it's not like a rule to me, but for me it's much easier to concentrate on the composition to begin with, and then I can, because I still haven't taken almost any decision in case of light yet, just composition. And also not worrying about color just yet, but it's about that time now that it's to start thinking about the colors. So but not always. If you check out my bamboo flute tutorial, I started in color on that one. So I encourage to do both, you know, not just I think doing both is better than just doing one in any case. Also, like with drawing characters, for example, that you draw also from like an outline, like a drawing more, and then also to try to build it up just with silhouette, for example, to do both. So I recommend that. I'm gonna start to introduce some color here now. Let me see, and then we're gonna get some more grass, a lot of more foliage also in the foreground, and also to figure out the light in the scene. And I also want to use the text tool to get some nice text here and there. Maybe you can help me out with suggestions of what the text should say on these different parts here. So this is also alpha lock, the background. I'm gonna just tone down just with the round brush, just darkening the trees there a bit, so it doesn't look like they're really far away, and then brighten the ground a bit. And I think we need one more background layer here, just to really say that this is some more trees and forests out there, and then we can have some of that sky above, but it's mainly nature back there, like this. All right, alpha lock. 2 fingers slide to the right on the layer. I'm gonna just do a little what I call ambient occlusion. It's sort of like a 3D expression, but the soft shadows that always occur, that makes stuff look a bit more like 3D, like 3-dimensional, not CG, but it gets this nice, this important soft shading that always happens naturally. It's a good start, and it's the expression ambient occlusion I also use a lot when I'm teaching about this, because it's not really a good other term for it, but it helps a lot to give a more realistic look. Also gonna do a little of that on the foliage layer back there. So I would say if I can only have 3 brushes, it would be the round brush, the rulle, and the airbrush. These 3 are the 3 musketeers. You can do anything with these 3 brushes, pretty much. Just gonna give a shadow on that sign because it's hanging away from us. Alrighty. Oh yeah, I drag up and I let go. So I'm used to it, so it goes like this. Shoop. You can hardly see the menu pop up. So when you get used to the quick menu, you're gonna love it. That is a stroke of genius. Yeah, that's one of the things I love the hardest about Procreate. The quick menu. Okay, colors. So what I usually do when time is running. What I usually do is I introduce color through curves first. So I'm gonna start with the sky first, because that's just a background. We might use a layer for that later, but just for now I'm just gonna put in like a nice bright blue sky color. And then I usually go for the biggest chunk first to pick the color on that. So in this case it's the big building here. So I open curves, and I want to give that just like a base color, like if it was all colorless in a way, or the main color of that building. So I'm introducing some of that red in the darker areas. And it's basically just to get away from gray, right? Just to give it's like you can test out some stuff here, but the curves is really powerful. I'm gonna go like that for now. Not like a blast of color yet, but starting out sort of a bit calm. And then the ground. I want that to be also a nice complementary thing going on here with the green and sort of the more red in the mud. And I can do that like this in a way, just because it's brighter, control of the brighter part and the darker part. But I'm also going to help out with painting over this with colors later. This is just a beginning, just to push it into some sort of color. Yeah. So the ground one. Yeah, something like that. So at least now it is color. And then I make a new layer. Sometimes I take the outline, the sketch I did, and I put it into overlay mode. Because I might merge this after a little while here. I like to have as clean layer stack as possible. If it doesn't need to be separate layers, I merge it. But I clip mask a new layer on, I put that into color mode. Because now I'm going to paint some local colors on that store or building. Just going to introduce some red to it. Uh, 3D, George is asking me. George is asking me if I put my images into 3D, like I've done. Not really. No. I've. This must be weird listening to, because you don't hear what George is saying. I use LumaFusion, and then I put stuff into. Maybe I can just quickly show you guys. Because LumaFusion is an editing app, and so let me see here, a recent file. This one? No. Let me see if I can find it here instead. Albums. Didn't I do that here? No, I did that on my little Wait, give me half a second here, because I just bought the iPad Mini, just to have like a backup iPad as well, the newest one to draw on, and I did some stuff there. Let me just quickly airdrop that to my other iPad. And if you can't afford an iPad Pro and you just want a little ninja sketchbook you can bring anywhere, this new iPad Mini is fantastic. Love it. I brought it on a vacation recently, and you can do pretty much anything on that. It's just a little smaller. So this is what I did in case of just a test, just to have some layers that I kind of 3D. It's very slow, but just to get that parallax, 3D parallax, you can do stuff like this in LumaFusion. So that's sort of as far as my 3D stuff goes but I guess that's not what you meant, Georgie. I know you can get this sort of, that you move the phone around and then it looks like 3D. Is that? Yeah. I haven't tried it yet, but I love to breathe some life into the paintings, right? So I really wish that it was possible to put all these, and like you choose your camera movements and stuff, and you can do that with 3D software, right? But is there a special app that's where you can do that, or? Yeah. Well, George is trying to find the name of this app. It is fun. It is fun to, like, I think being able to put your 3D or your 2D drawing into 3D somehow, I think is the best of both worlds. Isn't this? So as you see, I'm just skiddling in some color here and there. Not sure if skiddling is a word, but just trying to be playful with it, not really paying too much attention to my brush strokes, just introducing some random colors here and there, just to give it some life and make it come to life. And it's still kind of, it's still fairly early stage. I'm probably gonna want to come further on this than I'm probably gonna end up doing, but so I'm gonna have to work fast. And we're gonna push in some ask for some help from some cool ass layer modes. I'm gonna merge this. Boom. So there you have the whole building thing on one layer. It's always a nice feeling when they're merged. I can get rid of that outline, which I usually end up doing anyway. Skiddling, it's okay. Yeah. It could be like I also, when you said skiddling now, like Georgie says that people think it's okay. It also sounds like somebody's trying to walk away, pretending not they're doing it. I'm just gonna skiddle this direction, like from a dangerous situation, pretending they're not walking away, but they're actually walking away. Okay, so this is the inside of the building. I'm just gonna give that some color as well, but really subtle. I want it to be just some dark tones, some random stuff. Maybe it's some trash laying about there as well. It's the kind of place where you discover as a kid and you dare your friend to go in there, because There's always some sort of granny that's gonna eat you if you do, you know, some dangerous place. But it's fun. It's fun to discover these sort of cool places. So just giving that some. Well, I haven't really started on the grass yet. I was asked what brush I used for the grass. I'm going to use several brushes. I have a separate grass brush. That's pretty. I'm going to just put some blue in that window because that kind of mimicking the reflection. And I'm going to use my selection tool to select, because I want that window to be like kind of broken. So I'm making like a broken part here, and then I'm painting in black so it looks more broken, and maybe some charts here. Doesn't need to be really fancy, but yeah, just gonna break 2 of them. And I want to go into curves again. So now I introduce some color to that, and I'm gonna do curves again, also for the pushing the both the lighter tones and the darker tones, just to get that, see if I can add some more contrast. Or don't want to push it too far because I want to add the sun as the next thing. It's going to be like a, what's it called when like a shaft of sun? Do you say that? Like if the sun goes between 2 buildings, it creates this sort of path. Yeah, my English vocabulary is with limits. So yeah, maybe something like this. So preview, bit more, bit darker, bit more saturated colors. So let's introduce the sunlight and the ground here. Yeah, I'm gonna do some curves here as well. Just to get a bit more greeny. Something like this. I think it fits better together now. Just gonna brighten that sky a bit, maybe, just to get that contrast going a bit more. All right, I'm just gonna see if it should be a bit more desaturated. Maybe a little. It's nice to play with this hue, saturation, brightness as well. Curves together with hue, saturation, brightness, they are a powerful team. All right, sun. So new layer, add mode. Just gonna move the microphone a little. And I'm gonna pick like a nice warm tone. Add mode is super powerful. It's the brightest mode you have in case of light. So you don't have to go too bright on your color. And you paint, and it's gonna go super bright anyway, right? So I'm gonna paint this light coming in on the side here, hitting this building. And I actually might, I'm gonna put this on clipping masks and stuff, so it's not gonna hit everything like this. But it's like the sunlight suddenly turned on here, right? So just this nice evening sun coming in there. And it is pretty cool to have that in a separate layer like this as well. And you can really decide where it's going to go, where it's not going to go. And once you painted that, you can still use the hue, saturation, brightness to adjust it. Like, do you want it to be more green? Do you want it to be less saturated, more saturated, darker? So I always just slap it in there, and then I try to find the best, like exactly what it was fairly good actually. I'm not gonna do too much. Just gonna keep it like it was actually. I think it was pretty okay. Tad more green, just a little. So now we have that color. I'm gonna go to normal mode now just to pick that color because it's slightly different. And then I'm gonna undo. So I go back to add mode and I clip mask that to this part. So this part is gonna get its separate. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer now. And yeah, something like that. Bless you, Georgie. You're okay? Yeah. Yeah, so this is the part of the sun that's gonna hit the building. And I also want to gonna show you a little trick here. If you want to have like a, I kind of wanted to have like a natural, like the trees are blocking part of that sun, like especially up on top there. If I just take this layer and I duplicate that, and I'm just gonna push that up here, and I'm gonna unlock it because if you move it, it's automatically gonna go on alpha, now on clip mask, and I'm just gonna move that to where this, just focus on the top part of the roofing thing there. This is gonna shadow in to the sun, but it's gonna be blurred because on that distance you get more blurry shadows. Just gonna push that a bit in the direction of where the light is coming from, and maybe some Gaussian blur as well. Maybe a bit too much on the motion blur. First Gaussian blur, motion blur. It's fairly similar words, right? Maybe something like that. And then I select this, turn that off, and I just clear. So you get this nice little, it looks like the sun is coming through that. That's a way of cheating it a bit. And I want the same, so I have that color still picked. I can delete that now, and I go to the ground layer. I'll just merge this gravel stuff here. I'm just gonna check how it looks on overlay mode. It looks better. I'm just gonna hue, saturation, play with it a little like that, and I'm gonna merge these two. So that's one layer now, and I want the same layer in add mode, so we also can add some sun to the I need to have my brush, not the eraser. That's gonna help. So something like this. I still feel we are missing a lot of vegetation here, so I'm gonna have to work fast to get some of that in. Why isn't this working? What happened to my brush? It's just really... Yeah, what happened? Just gonna put my Apple Pencil. I think it just lost the connection or something. We're gonna get them all now, the bugs. Does it work now? No. Are you kidding me? No, it just says Apple Pencil. I'm gonna turn off the... Oh, there we go, Apple Pencil. 82%. Yeah. I'm gonna have a talk with this Apple Pencil after this. You don't do that in the middle of a... Yeah, sorry about that. Little technical issues, but if they can be solved in a few seconds, I'm okay with it. So I'm just erasing a bit into that as well, that sun, just to... And then motion blurring it. Yeah, something like that. And also here, gonna get some of that sort of vegetation shapes also into the shadow of that building. And I'm also gonna blur that a little so that it looks like it should. And then make sure that the shadow on the building on top there is sharper, so that the stuff that's further away, that can cast some more soft shadows, but the close stuff, that should be sharper. Sharper shadows. And also this thing here, it's gonna be nice to play with. Make that pop. Yep. That's 8. That's 1 hour up already. But yeah, okay, I can keep going. Cool. Just gonna smudge that a little. Getting slightly brighter here, so I'm picking color. And now I want to start coloring on... Well, first of all, let me just fix the light on, because the sunlight should also hit that window here a bit more, like this. Just want it a bit sort of whiter on that window. And also on the glass, because this is an old building that's been... haven't seen a cleanup for a while, so it's also important to kind of give that impression, like a dusty glass as well. So I kind of have to pick the bright part, because the rest is a hole through the window, like this on that layer. And then I'm gonna curves, but maybe give it a bit more sort of a yellowy, dusty look. Maybe something like this. paint that shadow also, so it's actually also hitting the glass. And the trees way behind there, they're gonna help us with the direction of the sun. Just to show that where that sun is hitting these trees behind here. Maybe a bit more saturated. Also some of that vegetation sticking up, so it's like a higher grassy field back there. Maybe even go a bit brighter for some of that ground stuff. There we go. And on this layer above it, I also want to have some of that, but I go a bit more green, and I'm a bit more careful on where I put it. Maybe I'm gonna use a different brush here. Stripe X. Just to make some of those nice leaves pop out. Just a few of them, because these are mostly standing in shadow as well. And then maybe some of that sun hitting the green parts here, but we're gonna go in with a new layer on top here. I'm just gonna warm up, just gonna go with it's the same as the airbrush, but in overlay mode. So if anybody haven't played with going into a brush in blend mode here and actually putting the brush in different blend modes, play with it. And especially overlay, like overlay is super powerful. See what it does inside the room there now? It just warms it right up. It's crazy. I'm gonna use that here as well a little, just to give that nice bounce up on the underneath that ceiling. Ah, I almost forgot text. Let's put some text here and there before we do the vegetation stuff. So, what are we gonna write, Georgie? So add text. Don't go in here. Is that too stupid, or maybe like this? Don't go in here. Sorry, boring. But the important part is to show the text tool. So I'm just gonna colorize that. And I am gonna, you see here, if I transform it, I can scale and I can rotate, and I can still go in and edit that text, right? But if I just rotate it back, if I do this, if I distort it, whoopee, like that, then you have rasterized it. So just be aware. But we are going to rasterize. Guess we're going to put it into perspective. So the only thing I would make sure your text blocks are bigger than what you're going to scale them down to before you rasterize them. So if they were this small and you're going to scale them up, then you're going to lose detail. But as long as they're big, don't go in here. Okay, we can't flip too much now, because now the text reveals which is the right side. Okay, so that's one. I'm going to alpha lock that, and I'm going to add No, not photo. Insert, add text. So here we can have, okay, help. What can I write? My brain is in drawing mode, not in trying to, yeah, okay, let me see here. Shack. Is it called like that? I'm gonna, yeah, I hope so. Come on, guys, help me out with the. But here you can go in and get your fun. Beware the dog. That's cool. I'm just gonna show that. Is there one with a bit more bold? This is too. Come on. This one bold. Yeah, it'll have to do. And you can make the letters far apart like this. Kerning. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Kerning. We're gonna kern this text today. Be aware, kerning in progress. And then we're gonna smack the. Finally somebody with wits. Shack. If I call it Procreate Shack, will that be too sort of dirty? Since Procreate already means something. Well, I'm gonna have. Which font is Procreate? Is it a normal one, or do you have like a special one? Yeah, probably is. Okay, if I. Oh, that's not even words. Text. Yeah, copper plate. Then we write. Sorry, it's the wrong. Here, let's just go for that one. Bold. Damascus, and then we write Procreate. We're probably not gonna have the whole word since I'm gonna put it. That's not too far from the Procreate font, or somebody's probably gonna. You can also press rasterize right here. I must say that I have very little clue about fonts and graphic design. That is not one of my strengths. But here, do I know that it's a Procreate building? Okay, so that's at least I'm merging all the text here because we can alpha lock that, and then we can like, let's say we want the red letters, maybe more red. There we go. And now we can do a sassy thing because the light here, maybe I'll paint it first so it's in shadow, and then I will click select here, and then I go back to that layer and I pick the bright one. If I paint in where it's light, neat trick, because I already have that where the light is hitting and not. Shack. Oh, wrong layer. Is this something? Nothing yet. So maybe just brighten the letters a bit here. Don't go in there. You'll be eaten. It should say, go in there, you're not gonna be eaten, because then Granny's gonna get her lunch. Procreate lunch. Okay, so at least some text there. I might put in some more later, but I want to get some green stuff happening in here. So I put a new layer on top, on the total top, and yeah, just clip mask the sun on the ground to the ground. So in that top layer, so that's just a normal layer in normal mode. So that opens up for me to do anything here, like details. So I'm probably gonna do like a midground and just to get in some stuff here and there, you know, also vegetation eventually, but also to have some clearer shapes here and there, if it's grass or not grass, or paper, or just the rubbish laying about here, also to pop out and be more visible. Like a garbage, or just a regular painting layer on top of everything. So just to tidy, or to tie stuff together better, because the transitions between the still sketchy part and the other parts here still needed a good transition. Also with the grass, like if I pick another more grassy brush here, that's gonna help a lot. It's gonna, and you can, like now I'm painting it from through the ground, sort of, you know, and then I can just erase the bottom part, so I can choose where they're sticking up from. The other way to do is to just select, with a freehand, just select where you want the grass to grow up from, and then you just do a big selection above like this, and just paint up from that. It's a little trick. And we can also, either add some of those brighter grass strands here. That's gonna help us show that the sun is hitting some of these things here. It's already helping. I haven't looked once at my reference on the side here, but it's comforting to have it there, just to, I get so immersed in my painting, so I very often forget about everything else. Even the time, especially the time, maybe. So both darker and brighter grass, and you can also have other type brushes like the bleed leaves. That's a nice one. It's very binary. It's either not painting or it is painting, so it's very, you have to be like, there's no opacity adjustment on that brush. But it's nice for these more leaves that you want to pop, wants to pop a bit more. Yeah. It's getting there. Let me see here. Most of these brushes are actually from my brush tutorial. That's why it's called Toot brushes. Not all of them though. I've added a few more. Yes, I'll probably add that to a tutorial as well. I haven't, right, like as of now, I haven't sold brushes separate, but I might already have it in one of my tutorials. If not, I recommend the brush tutorial, because then you also learn how to make your own tutorial brushes. Because then you get the power. But yeah, my plan also, Procreate is gonna have that you can sell stuff on their forum, right? Pretty soon. Georgie, do you know anything about that, or Procreate plans to, so you can sell stuff on their forums, like it's yeah, resources. I should put some brushes in there. But then you can add stuff, can you? Like add stuff like brushes there? Or? Yeah. Haven't been in there for a while. I lost track of what's possible or not there. Yeah. No, I don't know anything, so whatever I say is just me guessing. So don't mind. Just hopes, from a guy who wants to put stuff there. Okay, but it's starting to. I'm gonna have a separate layer on the total foreground. That's gonna sort of set the camera more where we want it. This is not the grass brush though. This is a stripe brush, and that's definitely in several of my tutorials. So it's a bit more chunky. You get more grass, like in one stroke you get a bit more thick stuff. With the grass one, you get more the thin ones, which you basically can also just paint with a round brush, a strand at a time, So that's also a good brush to just put those hero grass strands in there. So this is just a round brush. Yeah, I like my previous talk was on thumbnails, right? So I wouldn't say this is a total thumbnail still, but I haven't really gone too much closer than this. But this is when stuff starts breaking apart, right? When I zoom in too much. But the less time you have, the smaller. Keep it smaller. Yeah, I like. That's maybe also why I really like the new iPad Mini. Also, it really works for me because I can paint small. That's fine. But I would go in here in detail, because if this were supposed to be a fully painted thing that I finished to bring up to my my sort of finished detail level, I probably need another day or two, like two full work days on it, and that's almost all details. But as you can see, you can get fairly far in 1 hour 20 minutes. And I would, if this was a real job, I would definitely show it much earlier to the client, like on the grayscale level. Like, is this the point of view you want? Is this all right, or do you want me to change something? And then just gonna, because this is my paint on top layer, I'm gonna also paint on the building. Just to get some of that detail also on that building. Maybe some of these construction things that are helping us kind of point towards the building, vanishing point lines. Oh, I know another text thing now. Just have to flip it. So add. There we go. That's an important one. Then we can have that, because I just figured out that I need something on this little sign here. And why not? There we go. Sorry, that's my humor. Especially 11:30 at night here in Norway. But I feel I'm on a roll. I can go on for hours. Tomorrow, or in a half hour in Norway, it's the National Norway Day, Norway's National Day. The 17th of May, the birthday of Norway. That's when the Swedes finally gave us up, and we got our own laws, or our own country. So we're gonna celebrate tomorrow. So I can't make it too late, but I'm also having a lot of fun here. So I want to put in some more trying to pick color. Out in the street, yes. A costume, no. Yeah, I keep forgetting that you only hear what I say, not Georgie. She asked or somebody asked me if I'm gonna be in the street in a costume. Yes, I'm gonna be the running target, dressed in a bunny suit as always. No, we are going out in the streets, and the parades are almost too much here in Norway. Like, we are like, Norway, we're the best country. Everybody has a flag, and it's almost a bit too much. But it's a very nice day. It's a beautiful time of year, and everybody's happy. Like, we're very lucky if the weather is anything like today. We are gonna have most perfect day it was like 25 degrees Celsius. We had almost 30 on our porch, or terrasse. What's that called again? Porch? Balcony? No. Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah, what's the weather like in Tasmania? Yeah, 15 degrees. So 15 degrees or colder. Yeah, we are going in separate direction in case of weather now, huh? Let me do a foreground. So the paint layer now, you see, it's an important layer. Gonna do a new layer here with a really dark foreground, just to have a nice placement of the camera. Ink brush. So these are small bushes here. Gonna add some leaves to them as well. And let's see how this leaf brush, that's not too bad. I don't want to cover up too much here, so that's sort of the trick, to maybe smaller leaves. Not cover up everything I just painted, but also gonna push this a bit more out of focus. So this really places the camera in the scene when you do a foreground like this. Then you sort of get more the feeling that the camera was just placed on the ground almost. So it might be too much, but it always helps to first paint some of that stuff, and then maybe also go for a little grass, some nice foreground grass. Yeah, sorry about the mix-up yesterday. I thought it was today, and Georgie thought it was yesterday, so we had a little half hour before I was supposed to go on. I got a message from Georgie, and I panicked. Isn't that tomorrow? I was sure it was tomorrow. And I didn't even have the software installed. She got me awake, that's for sure. Yeah, something like that maybe. And then let's just warp this a little, because we don't need all that. I also love the warp tool. The warp tool and the liquify. It's just, whew. Just help you so much. Like, you can redo your image in so many ways with that. Yeah, I just want maybe something like this. And then put it even darker, black, or maybe not black. And then I want to erase a couple of these things. Not totally happy with that. That's better. All we miss now is I'm going back to my painting layer. I can lock the alpha here. Just want also some of that bounce underneath. Joji, is there a way of, when I'm doing a selection and when I get too close to the first point, you know, if I'm gonna do a square, if I go just a little, if I go over here and down and then click too close to that square, it's gonna close it, right? Is there a way of adjusting how close you can get to close the shape? Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. If you want to make a small square, you just zoom in and then you can do that. Yeah. The selection tool is awesome for, because sometimes you really want like a nice sharp edge on something. But you might want to use like a huge brush and just, you know, to give that playful surface. And with that selection tool, it gives you that freedom. Maybe even like the wolf's neck brush, also one of my favorites. Yeah, that's my best wolf. My best brush name I ever came up with, wolf's neck. But it's because it kind of looks like a wolf's neck, like the fur of a wolf's neck, in a way. Yeah. So that's as poetic as I get. A brush name. But that's in many of my tutorials, this one here. Joji, could you put a link into my Gumroad on this video? Is that okay? Ah, perfect, thank you. Alrighty. I think now. Yeah. Yeah, the egg stuff. I love that actually. It's a good brush. Or it's a good brush set. It has almost everything. Like you could get by with this. You see that I've already copied in my airbrush rulle and not the round, but the egg. So it's actually in a shape of an egg. You even see the number of the egg on the thing there. So it's yeah. That's a complete set right there. I'm gonna put in a new layer here now between the foreground and the rest of the image. And I want to put this in overlay mode. I can actually put it on top here, because now it's fairly finished. I'm not gonna go too much further than this. It's still gonna be like a sketch, but colored one with some details. So with the airbrush now, in overlay layer mode, I can go both darker and brighter. So let's say at the lower part, I want to go dark. Like if you go perfect gray here, 50% gray. Then you'll get nothing if you paint, because that's sort of the neutral of overlay. If you go brighter, it goes brighter. If you go darker, it goes darker, but with more contrast. And if you go with color, you're gonna have that added as well. So if I want to have a more bluish shadow closer to us, I want to go darker than neutral and more blue. So you see at the bottom there now, it's more of this bluer. Maybe I can go even more saturated. It's a bit green in it because it's plussing with the warm color underneath. So maybe I have to go a bit more towards purple. So there you have more of that blue in the shadow area. And then I can go, like if I pick this warm, bright color, you see that that really, it's too much though. I have to go maybe here, you know, if I want to sort of warm up something, maybe even more red. If I want to really push that saturation in the reds here. But maybe some of that brighter stuff happening on the ground here, but some bounce also coming up from that. Yeah, so I'm just adjusting here and there where I kind of feel that it's nice to, maybe it's a little darker in the top left corner. So just adjusting the image here and there where I think it needs a little help. And yeah, just gonna turn off the perspective. It was very subtle, but it was still underneath. And another layer I'd like to do. So now you see with and without, it almost works like a vignette, this layer, to kind of close off the corners a bit. Also gonna go a little darker here. That nice saturation. It's almost like a burn. Yeah, like that. A new layer. How's my layer limit here? 31. Plenty. What was my plan here? Yeah, to do same airbrush, but I'm gonna put this in. Let's start with screen mode, just to put in some like pollenish, hazy stuff. But that should go here. So my foreground is still. What happens if I do this? Nothing. Yeah. I'm going to keep my foreground on top so that I can put stuff in between. So if I paint here now, you see that the foreground actually pops out. So that's what I want. Not going to go that super bright, but just to, if this was a movie scene, they would have this smoke on location. They always smoke. That's why movies looks like movies, because they put smoke on set. And here is this nice summer evening. You definitely have some of that pollen in the air Air, ear. Do you pronounce air and ear? What's Georgie? How do you pronounce the things on side of your head which you're listening with? That's one ear, one ear. And what are you breathing? Air, air. So ear, ear and ear, ear and air. Okay, yeah. Okay. That's another word the other day that I was like, is that exactly the same word? I keep forgetting what that was. Yeah, so here, a bit more atmosphere on that. A bit more movie stuff. Another layer mode I really like is lighten. It gives it more that sort of postcard feel, like it does something unnatural to it, but it kind of simplifies your darks in a way. And I kind of like it as well. It does sort of the same job, but without brightening your whole image like this. And once I've seen it like this, it's hard to go away from the... But you see inside the building, you see it just simplifies everything in there. Everything that's darker is just eaten up by this haze. I kind of like that. I was going to keep it like this. But I might go in with some brighter tones because to tie the ground together with the grass there, it's nice. Picking some more saturated red. Yeah, feels like summer here, right? Some red up there as well. Yeah. I think that's it. What do you think, Georgie? Is it okay? Yeah? Cool. Preview. Yeah. Just brightening the trees back there a bit. Just wondering if I... Nah. Seeing if they should have a different look, but they're actually... I'm gonna reset that. Alrighty. Okay, but any last questions, Georgie, on your end? Yeah, I have a ghost tutorial that I've been working on for a long time, and it's been probably one of my drawings that I have had to fight to sort of to make it look like I want. I'm not sure if I should show it or not, because I'm not very happy with how it looks right now. No, I'm not gonna do that. But yeah, but it is like inspired by the geisha ghost painting that I did. But yeah, but so that's one tutorial that I started on. But I've already done the tutorial that I started on after that I already finished, the thumbnail one. So it might be, and I have several others in plan. So yeah, I cannot be totally yeah, that's pretty much all I can say. There will be more tutorials, that's I can promise. And I also want to be, I've already been more active on YouTube and stuff, and I want to continue with that, and be more on the, especially YouTube and tutorials and stuff. So yeah, more to come. I'm gonna do one last thing. Pollen. Some more dots. Pollen. What's it called? Corner spot. This is one of my corner spot brushes. To add some of that debris, pollen, dots in the air, in the air, no, air, in the air. People are gonna think I'm crazy because I'm. They only hear me, not you, trying to teach me how to say it. Yeah, next time Georgie's gonna also be on the line here, so you're not gonna just think I'm mental, which I am, but it's not only that, it's also so screen. Yeah. Should I blur that just a tad? A little slightly blurred. Yep. Okay. That's it, folks. Hope you liked it. And see you again soon on the next live paint. Then with Georgie on the line as well. Yes. Okay. Goodbye.